What's up, everybody? Obviously, there has been a ton going on in the world in the past couple weeks, and I think it is long overdue that we talk about energy and oil. If you follow the channel, you know that I'm pretty bullish on energy as a sector. I'm overweight oil producers in my own portfolio. Even before this month, pretty much all of my energy stocks have outperformed, with the notable exception of PetroTal, which is a small South American upstream producer that I'm definitely down money on. But in the past couple of weeks, the price of oil has shot up. Now it's at $93. I should say I'm recording this video on Monday afternoon, Monday the 16th. Given how volatile the situation is, maybe things are completely different by the time you're watching this. But we're going to talk about energy today and what it means for risk reward in energy stocks. If you get value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template for analyzing stocks, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into this. First, I think I should just explain what we mean when we're talking about the price of oil, because a lot of people don't actually understand what that is. You see people talk about how oil is, maybe $100 a barrel or whatever, but you obviously can't go to the store and buy a barrel of oil. So what is this price? The price of oil is set by people buying and selling futures contracts. So for example, April 2026, this is the next month future contract. By buying this, you're agreeing to buy 1,000 barrels of oil at, this is the current market price of this contract, about $93 per barrel. And since this is the next month, this is the price that everyone is quoting. They're quoting the next month's future contract. And there's two main crude benchmarks. This is WTI, West Texas Intermediate. It's more important for producers in North America. You also have Brent. Brent often trades at a bit of a premium to WTI. Right now, Brent is trading at $100-ish a barrel. If you're in the US and someone on TV or in a YouTube video is talking about the price of oil, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about the next month's future contract for WTI, which right now, $93. Now, there's a ton of volume traded on these contracts, actually way more volume traded on these contracts than actual barrels of oil that are going to be trading hands. So this paper market traders, this is actually driving the price much more than, actual buyers and sellers of physical oil. But like any other commodity, this price, it's driven by supply and demand. And to just give you rough numbers, right now, you have a supply of oil of a little over 100 million barrels a day. And demand also, a little over 100 million barrels a day in demand. If you track commodities, you know that little changes in supply or demand can really make dramatic moves in price. Historically in oil, if you have maybe a 1 million barrel a day shift in supply, that often has translated to, close to a $10 shift almost in the price of a barrel of oil. So shifting supply or demand by a few percent, that's enormous for the market. This red line right here is showing the inflation-adjusted price of oil over the past 80 or so years. And you can see that just a month ago, the price of oil was not even $60 a barrel, which historically, that's actually looked pretty cheap. The average inflation-adjusted price over the last 50 or so years, about $70 a barrel. Over the last 25 years, you're more like closer to 80-ish bucks a barrel. And you can see various supply and demand shocks on this graph right here. For example, here, 1979, this is the Iranian Revolution. More recently, you have COVID, which is this bottom right here. And then also when Russia invaded Ukraine, that's this peak a few years ago. There are some really dramatic swings in price here, but none of the supply shocks we've seen in the past really are even close to the potential supply shock that we're seeing right now. This is just a map showing some marine traffic. I took most ships off of this map. We're just showing tankers in orange and cargo ships in yellow. Obviously, the area we're talking about here is right around Iran, right around the Persian Gulf. This is the Persian Gulf here, and this right here is the Strait of Hormuz, which you probably heard about on the news at this point, but you want to get into the Persian Gulf, you got to go through the Strait of Hormuz. You want to get oil out of the Persian Gulf, you got to go through the strait. For a lot of the countries in here, this is kind of the only option to get your oil out. If you're Qatar, if you're Bahrain, by the way, this little island right here, there's Bahrain, this is Qatar. Kuwait is up here, here's Iraq. All of these countries are big net exporters of oil, and their oil is getting exported out through the Persian Gulf. You also have Saudi Arabia, where a lot of their oil was going out through the Persian Gulf, but, obviously a very big country. They have a pipeline that runs east-west, so they can export through the Red Sea as well, right here. And on a normal day, before all this stuff started, a couple weeks ago, you would typically have, 30 to 40 ships, 30 to 40 tankers, that is, going through the Strait of Hormuz. These are massive ships carrying enormous amounts of oil. You had 20 million barrels a day flowing through here. About 15 or so million of that is crude oil. Another 4 or 5 is refined products like diesel. It's also not just oil that's being disrupted here. You have a bunch of LNG. Qatar exports a ton of LNG. I think about 20% of the global LNG exports come from Qatar, little tiny country right here. That LNG is used to provide electricity to countries mostly in Southeast Asia. If, Taiwan over here doesn't get their LNG from Qatar to power their electricity, how are they going to make power? Well, they're going to resort to coal. And guess what? If we go over here and we just look at the price of coal, what's happened to the price of coal this month? Also shot up a ton. So you might think, what does the Middle East have to do with coal supply? Why would the price of coal be moving so much on this? And well, the answer is this is just a massive disruption to supply chains of all sorts of energy all over the world. There's some Iranian ships, a few other ships that are still going through the strait here, but instead of 35 or so ships a day, now you're talking single digits of ships going through here. Of the 20 million barrels of oil a day that would flow through here before, you only have a few. You have maybe about 4 or so million barrels a day that could also fill spare capacity in this east-west pipeline in Saudi Arabia. The UAE, which is right here, they're the only other country with a pipeline that can kind of bypass the Strait of Hormuz. So you have maybe 1 to 2 million barrels that can get through there. But still, you're talking about 10 million barrels of supply disruption every day that this strait remains closed. It's roughly 10% of global supply. And actually, if you're just talking about global exports, exported oil, we're talking about more like 20% of exports, just using round numbers. This is a bigger supply disruption than we've seen in the past. It is fair to say that this is unprecedented. With that in mind, you might wonder, why is the price of oil only $90 or so a barrel? That's not even all that elevated historically. And if we just look at the future curve on oil, if you just want to buy, let's say, oil a year from now, so March 2027, the price of buying future barrels of oil for 1 year from now, about $72 a barrel. Before this conflict started, that was maybe like $62 a barrel. So this is up $10 a barrel. That's actually not that much considering the scale of the issue we're talking about. To me, it looks like the market is pricing in a resolution to this conflict within, the next couple weeks or maybe a month, something like that. If this drags out for a couple months, you're looking at prices that are way higher than they are today. We already have reports of some countries in the area that had to shut in production, which basically means, just stop producing products, stop producing oil. They can't ship it out and they're running out of storage in their country. They're running out of basically places to put the oil that they produce. Right now, even though we have a disruption in supply, we haven't really seen the worst of it. A lot of production hasn't been lost because even if you can't ship your oil out, you can fill up your storage facilities. But as that storage capacity gets full, you're going to have a real problem here. More and more production is going to shut in. Also, you have a bunch of oil on the water. So a tanker, it maybe leaves Kuwait and it's taking oil and that oil is going to maybe some refinery in China. Well, that journey is going to take a little bit of time. Some refineries are just now starting to see their input supply being shut off. Now, I'm not a political expert. I have no clue what's going to happen with the situation in the Middle East, but I think many people are underestimating the risk that still exists in oil prices. There's a comment on a video I made last week when oil was, I think, around $85 a barrel. It was between $80 and $90 a barrel at the time I posted the video. But the comment said, oil prices are going to come down. How could you not think that? Unless you think we are in an endless war with Iran, then oil prices will come back down to reality. Well, while I don't think we're going to be in an endless war with Iran, as I said, I don't know what the future is here. If you don't have tankers that are going through this strait sometime relatively soon, if the situation remains as it is today for another month or two, there is nothing that anyone can do to stop oil from breaking 100 and maybe going much higher. From my vantage point, I think the probability that oil hits, say, $150 a barrel this year is greater than the chance that oil hits $50 a barrel this year. Now, I'm not calling for $150 oil. I'm not saying that that's a likely scenario. I'm just saying I think there's a chance that happens, and I think that risk is being underpriced by the market. And if that happens, it's probably going to be pretty ugly for markets. You have to understand, oil or energy in general, it's an input cost to pretty much everything that's produced in this world. The food that you eat. You might be watching this video sitting in a chair. How did that chair get to you? The transportation costs of durable goods. That's going to be affected by the price of fuel for ships, for jets, diesel. This is a site just showing the price of gas in the US. Prices are up about 25% from where they were a month ago. Now, admittedly, we have had really cheap gas prices for quite a while in the US, But still, huge change here. If you have a sustained massive spike in oil, it's going to increase prices, it's going to reduce consumption. It'll be overall a big negative for the market. I want some of my portfolio exposed to companies that are going to benefit from high oil prices, which of course is mostly upstream oil producers. Obviously, those businesses would do very well. They act as a hedge. And also there's a number of companies right now that I've talked about on the channel before that I think are trading for very cheap multiples of cash flow, even if you have, $70-ish oil. You don't need oil prices to stay high to have decent returns with a lot of these energy companies. And by the way, in case anything I said in this video made you think otherwise, I don't think I can necessarily predict the future price of oil better than the futures market. Futures are pricing in roughly $70 a barrel oil for 2027. So I guess I would say that's roughly my base case. And even at those prices, there's a lot of companies that are going to make great money. Now, many of these companies are up a lot year to date, of course. A lot of the big names have moved first. That's where a ton of the liquidity has gone. But, there's some smaller companies that haven't moved as much that I think are poised to benefit, that I think still offer excellent risk reward. Unit Corp is a company that I presented on the channel about a month and a half ago. I actually just bought a very small starter position this week. It's a fraction of a percent of my portfolio. It's traded over the counter. The liquidity isn't great, so can't build a big position quickly in this one. This is a very small business, $350 million market cap. About half of that market cap is sitting in cash on the balance sheet because they sold off their drilling division. So now they're a pure oil and natural gas producer. They are natural gas weighted, so they're not going to have as much upside to high oil prices as oil heavy producers. But I think long-term, natural gas right now looks pretty cheap. Talked about it in the past, so not going to go into it here. But as LNG facilities build out in the US, I think US natural gas producers are going to have a tailwind. And even if what's going on in the Middle East resolves in the next month or two, I think long-term, this is a huge positive for US LNG. Natural gas is very time sensitive. You can't store it as well as you can store oil. In the future, if some European country is looking and they're saying, should we have a natural gas contract with Qatar to get some LNG imports to our country? Or, should we have it with the US to get LNG from them? Well, the perceived risk to LNG that has to go through the Persian Gulf, I think has gone up. And the reality is that I think that's just going to increase demand for LNG from other places that don't have this geopolitical risk. In any case, I think we'll end the video here for today. The short summary is I'm still very bullish on energy. Given everything that's going on, I don't think the current price of oil is all that expensive. Long term, I think natural gas prices will go up too. I think natural gas looks cheap. I think there's lots of decent investments from a risk reward standpoint. And also, energy stocks are not well correlated with the rest of the market, so they act as a bit of a hedge. So I like having energy in my portfolio. I'm overweight energy. This isn't advice to buy or sell any of the stocks that I've talked about here. But if you got value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. And I hope to see you all in another video.